afternoon, everyone. My name is Rich Longo, and I'll be your host. Thank you for joining us for another Flycast Partners webinar. Today's webinar is The Future of ITSM Has Arrived, presented by Greg Gilda. Greg Gilda has been with Flycast Partners for over 3 years now, and Greg has a proven history in leadership, consulting, ITIL implementation, and developmental stewardship of all ITIL best practice disciplines, including change management, problem management, incident management, ITIL configuration, and release management. Greg is well into his second decade in the IT industry with several hundred implementations under his belt. Let me tell you more about Flycast Partners. We provide IT service management consulting to organizations all across North America. Our clients remain ahead of the curve on technology adoption while maintaining the rock-solid principles of ITIL and practical focused projects. Our website is always monitored by our team of well-trained ITSM specialists. Please visit us online at www.flycastpartners.com or feel free to call us at 844-FLYCAST. This is just one of our live weekly webinars. I encourage you to go to our website and check out some of the future presentations that we have coming up. We also have an ability for you to research industry white papers on our website, training that is available from ITIL to ITSM and ITAM tools, assistance with professional services, and a new ITSM solution finder. Without further ado, I am going to go ahead and turn everything over to none other than Greg Gilda and let him teach us a little bit of something about the future of ITSM.
Hey, Rich, thanks very much. Can everybody all right? Hopefully. You can hear me okay?
I hear you loud and clear, loud and clear.
Perfect. I like it. I'm going to switch to sharing my desktop here. Hopefully it'll pick that command up and we'll start the sharing process. Good afternoon, everybody. Hey, to join us for the next 45 minutes as we talk about I want to be able to.
You're fading in and out, Greg. Your connection is. We can hear you every other word.
Oh, well, that's not good. That's why I wanted to be sure it was crystal clear. So, are you hearing me better now, good sir?
Hearing you better now, sir.
Excellent. So, the future of ITSM is Cherwell. It's one of the products that we as Flycast represent. And from a process and product perspective, there's a lot to offer under the hood of the Cherwell solution. We want to take an opportunity to speak with you a little bit about it. So let's begin, shall we? Cherwell is a 100% web-based product with the exception of the ability to administer it. Administration is all done through a client. You can use a client with it, or you can use the web. As you can see, we're currently trying to log into a web page right now on our Cherwell session. Some folks in the audience may prefer to use Outlook as a client, right? Some folks may prefer to log into Outlook through a web interface. The folks who prefer a client really like the client for their specific purposes. And the folks who prefer a web interface like this really prefer using the web for their own reasons. Cherwell gives you the flexibility to use the product in any way that you would like. So if you really prefer to be able to use the solution as a client and log in as one of the kinds of folks that can gain access to the product, you can absolutely do that through a client interface or through a web interface. So let's talk a little bit first about our web interface. Inside of Cherwell, when we supply our credentials, if we belong to more than one group or more than one role, Cherwell is going to ask us what role we need for this particular instance of our login so that we can behave the way we need to and so that we're shown the data that is important to us. So I'm just going to log in as the service desk manager in this particular case so that Cherwell can bring the information back about the IT service desk manager. Now, as you can see, we have our little Flycast Partners logo up here, and we are displaying back information from Cherwell's reporting functionality. One of the first things you're greeted with on login is a set of dashboards. Cherwell, as an organization, firmly believes that your data about your processes is your data. And therefore, they make every effort to make sure that you have immediate access to it because your information is pertinent to you to help you make decisions, right? We can't make good decisions about how our organization is working, how the processes are functioning, unless we have access to our specific data. So with Cherwell, not only is access to this provided to you first as a matter of course with whatever dashboard you choose to display, but it also displays the information about the specific tickets, and all of the access to all of the report information that we're seeing is free. So there is no license cost for gaining access to doing reports and pulling back information on a dashboard. So seeing quick information that help us make decisions about our organization, such as service level responses, which ones may be in breach, which tickets may have been closed on first call, overall workload on a team-by-team basis, all teams' workloads, open tickets by departments, any kind of detail we want to be able to see, we can choose to display on our dashboard. And if we don't like this particular global IT dashboard, we can take a look at only the incidents, for example. All of the information that is here is drillable, which means if I wanted to take a look at these open and overdue incidents inside the product, I can simply choose to click on it and have the information returned back to me. Now, all of this is being done through a web page. So that means you can use whatever browser you'd like. We happen to be using Internet Explorer here, but you can use Chrome or Firefox or Safari or whatever you like. It even works perfectly fine on handheld devices because there is a Cherwell application for that. Cherwell does have an app for both Android devices and iOS devices that allows you to see some information on screen about the product right on your handheld. So that means your tablets or your phones can all display back specific information for searches or open tickets, etc., just the same way that you can do right here inside of a web portal. Now, I'm still not consuming a license inside of the Cherwell product, even though I've drilled in this far and have started looking at specific tickets, right? Cherwell is not going to make me consume any license at all unless I'm looking at a specific ticket, right? Unless I drill into a specific ticket so that I can see the detail and the information that I need to see about that ticket. Now Cherwell says, hey, you're licensed as a user of the product. We're going to let you consume that license so that you can begin to interact with the ticket in your specific role. But gaining access to all of that detail doesn't require you burning a license. And virtually any other tool on the market I can think of makes you consume a license if you're going to try to browse your reporting. So for us, when you go to look at reports, many of our customers come to us saying, hey, you know, we have a hard time with our tool because it won't report the stuff that we want it to report. We can't get access to the information we want. So I'm going to do the same thing I just did for you on the web page. I'm going to do that through the client now. I'm going to log in the client and let the system bring it up. Now, my pages here are designed just a little bit differently on the client side. The screens that I have set up with slightly different colors, just displaying it a little differently, but the same exact content, just a little bit of a different colored background to display it against. But all that same information is available to me here as it was when I was logging in through the browser. So literally everything in the Cherwell product can be performed whether or not you're using it from a browser client or whether you're using it from a fixed client. And many folks, as I said, prefer that fixed client. If you're an Outlook user who loves Outlook in your client form, then you have your specific reasons for that, right? Because typically there's much more from a feature perspective in a client application. And in Cherwell, that is also true. I have the ability from the client to right-click on the page and make edits to my dashboards if I want to, so that I can make quick changes to this particular dashboard and display different information back if that's what I choose. And the edit screen gives me access to all kinds of different widgets, tabs, buttons, images, anything else that I need to be able to add to this dashboard to make it like I want. But because, more importantly, Cherwell isn't totally codeless product, that means that I can add information simply by dragging and dropping that information on the screen, right? I can drag and drop the text information that I'd like on the screen, and instead of having it say text, I can say codeless or whatever it is that I would like to say. We can make that, of course, a little bit bigger. We can also add images to any of these just by browsing to specific images and pulling back your logo. So you can make the tool your own and display back the information that's truly important to you all in one fell swoop. Now, of course, Cherwell doesn't just give you the ability to report your data out in any format you'd like, right? It also gives you the ability to browse additional dashboards, such as from my dashboard manager. If I have executives that need to use the product, and this is often the case in organizations where people look at it and say, how are we going to license our executives, right? What are we going to give them access to? Do we have to buy a license for all our execs just to be able to see dashboards that help them make decisions? And the answer is no. Right? In Cherwell, your executives can come in, look at the data that they need to see, the high-level information that's important to them, and this then can become their default dashboard so that when they come in, they can see overall executive summary information of incidents resolved by time or incidents closed by a particular day, a particular number of days, et cetera. VIP tickets, always important to the execs who may be one of those groups. We can monitor overall performance, trending by business object, mean time to resolve tickets by volume of tickets, any kind of detail you can imagine. Cherwell is based on a SQL database backend, so it can pull back literally trillions of records and gain access to all of the information that you really need to be able to report out. So in addition to being a codeless product, totally codeless, you'll never write a shred of code to be able to make Cherwell do what you need it to do. Cherwell also gives you great access to be able to get your outputs. And because most folks are actually looking to get tools like this, not just obviously to measure their process successes, but to be able to report on them in a robust way, right? I felt that reporting was important to be able to discuss first. Now, our customers can, of course, access the product as well. And customers have the ability to access it either by using a client or, more commonly, they have the ability to access it by logging directly into their own self-service portal. So another web portion of the product, we have provided access for our customers to hit their own login page, if you will, giving them access to any service requests or incidents that they may have open so that they can check the status of their existing tickets. Plus, they have the ability to see additional data, information about problems that you may be working on, right? Customers care more about whether the problem is fixed permanently than about whether you fixed it temporarily with a Band-Aid. So it's nice to have them know that that long-term thing you're trying to fix has finally been resolved and they can stop calling you. The info that's been displayed here, though, and everything that we're looking at is all out of box. Everything that we're going to discuss in the remainder of our afternoon together and everything that we've been showing so far is out-of-box configuration, out-of-box functionality. I didn't set up anything there except to add my own logo for Flycast partners to these pictures. That was it. The rest of it was all configured by Cherwell as out-of-box functionality, which means you have the ability to then come in and quickly and codelessly tweak this functionality to match your own business processes and your own business needs. So for our customers, we've given them access to basic information like managing their own devices, seeing tickets or devices that may be assigned to them, or searching knowledge articles to see what kind of knowledge may exist in the system. And a quick click here allows the ability to bring back knowledge articles or allows them to search for particular terms in the knowledge article. Excuse me, and if they want to search for particular terms such as email or what have you, put the term in, choose go, find the messages, and then drill directly in to get that information back. So if a customer needs information on, messages deleted on a BlackBerry, how to retrieve them, or a retrieving notification that you might need, here's the information about that knowledge base article, including pictures. If the article is helpful, great, you can like it. And if it solved your problem, awesome. But if it didn't solve your issue, hey, you know what? Maybe we have to have a ticket log to make this work. Customers are immediately given the ability to log an issue right from here. And we're going to ask why that article never, didn't really fix the issue. We're just going to say not enough info. And now that that information has been logged, everybody in IT and other folks who manage it can understand what's going on, refer to incident number to track the status of this. That incident has been created as 102195, which means the customer has this open for them, and we can also check that ticket from here, right? Open incidents, 2 of them, 102195 is going to be one of those. Here it is. Andrew opened it. Knowledge article did not resolve my issue. It's already filled in for him. All this capability exists, again, as out-of-box functionality. So you don't have to set it up, and you certainly don't have to code for it, because as we said earlier, there is no coding. But if we want our customers to be able to browse the list of services that we offer in our organization, we can simply bring up the service catalog. Again, out-of-box functionality is what we're looking at. You may decide to configure your Cherwell system completely different from this. Or if you're a Cherwell owner right now, you may already be configured quite differently than this, because Cherwell really gives you a sky's the limit type of functionality for creating these almost as if you were designing a web page, but all done through drag and drop, point and click interfaces. So if our customer just wanted to do something very, very simple, like, I don't know, maybe, how about we go to the service desk, report an error or an outage. Maybe they want to be able to submit an incident. So we'll have them submit an incident. Here's a lovely picture of Andrew. No, that is not me. However, you can certainly include pictures of anybody that you'd like inside of Cherwell. You can pull this information out of Active Directory or another source so that you get a chance to see who your lovely customers are on the other side, and they get a chance to see you if you'd like. So from a description standpoint, we're just going to say, can't use email. Any comments that we want to add, we'll add. We're asking our customers some very simple questions here. We're not telling them to prioritize the issue because, of course, if we give them that ability, they'll say critical because it's me. Are you kidding me? I'm front of the line. So we'll ask them some simple questions like, is it affecting more than just you that you know of? Well, no, not really. Is it preventing you from doing your day job? Well, not really. It's nice to have email, but it's not my day job. I can do my job without it. So email just is a launch-in for them. So we'll go ahead and submit that request. Notice that this request form has been kept painfully simple, and it was done deliberately that way by Cherwell, so that a customer filling this out wouldn't have to fill in, hundreds of different fields on the form and be daunted by that. They could simply fill out the information that was necessary, the minimal info, so that we could process that request on the backside. And now you can see, of course, our customer has another ticket open. But if we really wanted our customer to gain access to a different type of service, like, well, let's look at something more complex, like audio-video conferencing. Let's set up a one-time conference room setup. Notice now that our form is asking for more specific data. In fact, inside of Cherwell, there's a term for this. It's called a specifics screen, and these specific screens can be individually designed, reused over and over again inside the product because it is a totally object-oriented product. And that means that once I've designed this specific screen to gather this info, I can use this over and over again to gather the same type of info anywhere inside of the product that I choose. Displaying this info back to my customer means that they'll now answer questions about their audio-video session so that we, as the service providers, can go ahead and provide access for this. So the right information presented back to the customer, not stuff they don't need to fill in for that request type. Only the information that they need to fill in has been provided so that our customer isn't daunted by too many fields, and we all know how that can feel when we go to fill out a form on other folks' websites. Oh, only 100 more fields to go, and I can make my request work. Yay. And, of course, the ability to make any of these fields mandatory as we choose if we really need that field to be populated before we go ahead and fill it in and send it off to our customer. Now, we, of course, have the ability to browse additional information. If we've given customers any access to charts or other reports, we can allow our customers to see those. We can allow them to view the IT calendar, if there's a calendar of events, or any other detail you would like them to know about. This includes the ability, by the way, to link out to your own internal web pages inside your organization. So if that means you've got internal websites you'd like to link to, no problem. You can add that information right from here. And our customer now has the ability to browse to all your internal sites. And in fact, in Cherwell, you can set up as many web pages and websites as you'd like for different aspects of your organization and still have all of those processes managed inside of the Cherwell solution. So let's talk a little bit about opening up a ticket if I was a technician. Okay. We can see that customers can fill in details. Their ticket numbers show up on the home screen. We won't save changes to this. I think you guys understand how to fill in the information on a ticket. I'm just going to say no here. So we don't have to go through all that. And you can see, of course, that Andrew, our customer, has filled in another ticket, 102196, and this is his new one for can't use email. If we're a technician, we have the ability to pull that ticket up, 102196. We can do searches from over here, find the ticket, pull that particular ticket up. Here it is, showing open incidents only, 102196 is the ticket number. Can't use email, and you can now see that Cherwell has automatically defined this, said that it came in through the portal. We can see that Andrew Sims, our customer, is the person who has done the work, and you can see that currently, because of who Andrew is, this is operating under a gold service level agreement based on the nature of the service so far and the nature of the customer so far. But we can change this by filling out the rest of the information here, reporting an outage or error, submitting an incident. Our customer gets the gold SLA. But if we're looking at IT service desk work, that's what we're going to see. If we're looking at things like email and calendaring, and instead of this, we say, hey, we're having an issue with our desktop client, right? And our desktop client is submitting an incident. Notice that Cherwell changes this and immediately starts bringing back additional information for our technicians to ask our customer. Hey, you're having a problem with your client. It doesn't seem to want to launch. So let's pull some additional info back so that we can start querying our customer for the things that matter, right? Let's start asking them those things. Let's also find out whether or not there are any similar incidents to this. As it turns out, Cherwell has found additional similar incidents for email that have been opened by other folks. So that means other people have been complaining about email as well. Cherwell has found those tickets in the system, is displaying them back as possibly related. And that means your job is made a little easier because Cherwell can help find this detail for you and make it much, much quicker. So we can start checking some of these boxes as our IT technician saying, hey, they're coming in across a wireless network. Yes, we verified all these steps. We've searched the knowledge base. We can't seem to find it. We can add additional notes if we would like. And then we can go ahead and assign this ticket to whom we want. Now notice that this has now changed its SLA to the email service because that's the kind of service we said we were picking here. So depending upon whether it's a customer-based service level agreement, right? It's one of our premier customers, it's one of our VIPs, we're going to give them platinum level service, or depending on whether the service level for the actual service itself, email, whichever one of those two takes precedence, whichever is most important, is the one that Cherwell is going to grant access to here. And you can decide, of course, which of those is more important to you. These are simply out-of-box choices that are made by Cherwell themselves. You can see that I added an easy button here. The easy button doesn't really do anything. I did add this myself, though. I added the button to the form. This easy button, in this case, I made it open up an email that sends people about information about, hey, we're having an outage. And these buttons or other functions can quickly be added to the form using its own form designer inside of Cherwell. And what you get tied to, in other words, what that button gets tied to behind the scenes, can also be automatically set because Cherwell uses something called a one-step, which is really a brilliant piece of micro workflow that can be attached to any link, any button, any function inside of the Cherwell product, meaning a simple button on a form like this can instead trigger an email to be opened, right? So that way, our customers and or our agents, our technicians, can have access to things that are quick and easy for them and that are going to give them access to some of the automated features of the product. We're going to go ahead and select an owner for this right now. We'll pick a team. We'll just say it's first level support that's going to own it. And let's go ahead and assign it to somebody. We'll assign it to Henry. And now Henry, our technician, has got access to this particular ticket. And we also have the ability, of course, to pull back information about the configuration items here. So which configuration item may be impacted in our environment is also able to be mapped directly into this ticket, and that way Cherwell can keep tabs on this info as well. So you can easily pull back information about configuration items. You can see some of our customer configuration items, or we can search for a specific configuration item just by typing a search in at the top, or coming up with other config items, such as our mail server, which as you can see in this case, is showing that there's an issue, a bang. Cherwell can easily be connected to your monitoring solutions, things such as SolarWinds, What's Up Gold, etc. And you can even use Cherwell to display the dashboards for SolarWinds or What's Up Gold directly inside of the Cherwell product. So now you don't have to go to the What's Up Gold or SolarWinds application to see that info. You can come right into Cherwell to see it because it'll display the dashboards from SolarWinds or other solutions right inside of Cherwell. If we want to see impacts about this mail server, Cherwell will pull up information about that and let us see the details. We'll go ahead and refresh so that it has the latest info. You can see that it pulls information about the fact this is connected to our main switch, to our ISP firewall, and we also have the ability to see other linked systems, right? These are the direct impacted systems, mail server connected to core switch connected to main firewall connected to ISP firewall. We can also see that that mail server is connected to other systems in the organization. It's connected to a specific application server. It's connected to a CRM system. It's connected to a domain controller, right? It's connected to many other functions inside of the organization. I'll zoom this out a little so you can see that picture a little better. This lets us make good decisions, right? Lets us make decisions about exactly what's going on inside the company because I can zoom in and see everything that's happening on any particular portion of my organization, right inside of the CMDB, including our mail server. If I want to see more details about our mail server, double-clicking it allows me to drill right into that so that I can pull up details about the mail server right inside of Cherwell. So the product itself gives me quick access to all of the info that I need, and as we talked about earlier, it gives me quick access to things like reports, etc., so that I can pull back the necessary info. As you can see, it's now brought back details about our mail server. You can see that the status shows down because it's being monitored by a monitoring solution, and the monitoring solution reported to Cherwell that the product is no longer working. Your email functions are probably broken because the email server is down, and that might be a good reason for it. So full flexibility and capability inside of both the Cherwell client and inside of the Cherwell browser means that no matter who I am, no matter how I access the product, I can gain access to the functions that I need, and I can do that either from a handheld device or directly from my laptop or desktop, either through a client or through a web browser. Now, in addition to the ability, of course, to report simple incidents or other functions, Cherwell gives us a bevy of out-of-box capabilities with its built-in business objects that come as a part of the product by default. So if you guys are practicing change management or managing configuration items such as things like maybe switches or mobile devices or routers, telephony equipment, etc., Cherwell can readily manage any and all of your CIs. Contracts, if you guys manage contracts in your organizations, Cherwell can quickly manage contract records and make updates to them, tying them out to specific services so that you can see the impacts of services on contracts, and decide whether or not that vendor has really been as helpful as they should have been in getting some of your stuff done. Okay? Or setting up new discussions, creating new incidents, new knowledge articles, opening new problem records for those of you who may already be working on problem management, or simply creating brand new services inside the organization so that we can make them categories in our knowledge base, or categories in our service catalog, or categories in our incident request area. All of this capability exists as out-of-box. So for example, if I needed to create a new vendor inside of Cherwell, the new vendor object is already made for me, and I can begin to populate this with information about our vendors, right? Vendor details. Or if I said, no, I really rather create a new change request. I'm going to say, no, I don't want to save changes to my vendor document. I'd rather create a new change request. Cherwell will move me through all the required steps of creating that change request, including linking to any related changes or problems, and stepping me through all of the steps necessary to get as many or few people to authorize this request as necessary. So in addition to filling out some of the basic information about emergency, normal, standard changes, etc., now let's just say we're going to do this for our change and needs to be rebooted. I know many of you logged in just to be able to see me type, so it's pretty exciting. We'll go ahead and pick our information from about our change request here, urgent change. Yes, it certainly is. And we can decide whether or not we want to make this visible to the customers in our customer portal. If we do, that means that the customer will be aware of the fact that these changes are going on, so we can certainly include that info. Notice that Cherwell is taking us to our next steps in the change process by identifying the affected CIs, affected services, service importance, etc. And by pulling this information back again, we can again link this out to our mail server, just as we did before. Say, hey, it's our mail server, this is affecting email and calendaring, and you can decide whether there's a relationship between these and the services. As out-of-box content goes, they didn't include to, decide to make these things link together. But you can say, look, this server provides these services to our customers. Very, very simple inside of the tool because it is totally codeless. And now that I'm moving through this a little further, we can now assess the change. Hey, is this not during normal hours? Does this require an outage? Well, it's a reboot probably does. Is it mission critical? Yeah, kind of is. Notice our risk analysis is changing as we do this. Are we trying to fast track this change? Yeah, it's a major change now. Right? Kind of a big deal. And I'm going to put some words in here that you should never have your folks type. I'm just doing this to save some time. And we can then choose to submit for approval, right, to move this forward in the process as we need to. And now, Cherwell wants to understand who we're going to assign the ticket to. Right? We'll just say, hey, let's assign this to third level. That'll work. We'll assign it to Bruce. And because of the risk and impact analysis saying that this is major, Cherwell's asking if we'd like to make this an emergency change. Looks like the major system you're trying to take action on right now is probably an incident open against that. You could certainly say, sure, make it an emergency change, or manage it without being, without sending it through that emergency process. Entirely up to you how you choose to do it. If we chose to say yes, now we're getting information about scheduling our change in addition to the information needed for managing our change. Note that down below, related changes, related configuration items, or any other information that we need about our changes, such as approval history, any testing that was done, technical analyses, backup plan information, acceptance criteria, everything that we really need to know about, even review questionnaires, so that when we're done with our change request, we can create a new review questionnaire to find out how things went. Right? Did it stay on schedule or not? All this information is built in out of the box. So they have done a very, very in-depth job of creating all the functionality that you need to be able to manage not just your IT practice, but additional practices, right? One of the things that Cherwell has just added in their version 5 of the product, which we're demoing and talking about today, one of the things they just added is a function called MApps. Because Cherwell is an object-oriented and codeless solution, because there's no code that's required, Cherwell is built on a platform. Right? So that means when you make an upgrade to the product, you are upgrading only the platform, not your configuration of it. So your settings, your choices, your field data, your objects, your rules, all stay in place when you do the upgrades. That also means that the information about what you've created is portable. Everything that Cherwell builds is a blueprint. So blueprints we're kind of familiar with, right? We use them in our homes. We use them on a day-to-day basis, oftentimes, depending on our jobs, right? But if we're doing a remodel at our house, we're going to know what our living room looks like based on the blueprint of the new layout. And Cherwell works the same way. When you're administering a product, it administers everything based on blueprints. And all of the work that you do is a blueprint, which means if I can save the content of a blueprint, I can tell a different Cherwell environment from my own all about my blueprint and have Cherwell build that same object for me. Hence the concept of MApps is born. Because in MApps, what Cherwell has basically done is saying, look, this is a platform. You can develop your own object solutions here. There's no charge for that. Cherwell is not charging you anything to be able to develop your own solutions inside of the tool. And remember, development in Cherwell means pointing, clicking, dragging, dropping. It does not mean coding. There is no code. There's no language someone has to learn to be able to do any of this stuff. It's all doable through the same point-and-click interface. But with MApps, I can view the installed MApps, right, any that I may have installed on my system. And you can see we have the SolarWinds server monitor dashboard installed so that we can display the server monitoring information from SolarWinds. But I can also view existing integrations between those MApps or look at the MApp exchanges. So basically what it's doing is showing me all the MApps and the integrations that exist and giving me the ability to grab these MApps right from Cherwell with links and capabilities for linking to Altiris or Cherwell's automatic discovery client, Cisco integrations, the Casper Suite, Chatter, or literally dozens of other potential integrations or functions or business objects that you may choose to create in your own system with links to footprints, links to Jira, links to Case, links to LDAP or Lawson, Landsweeper, Knowledge Brokers. You have the ability to customize Cherwell any way that you would like. And you don't even have to build the object at all, because if you come out and decide to download these objects for yourself, you can grab them and have them automatically installed inside of Cherwell without needing to do anything. And notice that that is an option for download. That's something that I did, that I chose to download. So with MApps, you have free access to vendors such as ourselves and others, and even other companies, creating applications, creating objects inside of Cherwell, complete with all of the business functions you need. And then you can come out here, grab those objects, and install them as you need to right inside of Cherwell, giving you a brand new object to be able to use inside of the product without you having to do any sort of development or coding or any other functions like that whatsoever. So in a nutshell, what Cherwell is really providing is the next wave of ITSM management, because inside of the product, not only do I have the ability to gather all my info and view it without consuming a single license inside the product, but I can also track and manage all of my not only IT processes, but any process that I build an object for, or any process that may have an object already constructed for me out on the MApp store. And that is growing every single day with new items being added to the system for download and for use by anybody who has the Cherwell product. Now, for those of you who need to use Cherwell in the cloud, one of the nice parts about the product is it can be a SaaS solution or an on-premise solution. The choice is entirely yours. You can have Cherwell host the product. You can host it in your own choice of remote server hosting locations. You can have Cherwell host and manage the product in a full SaaS form. You can choose to run the product in your own system. You can choose to license the product only if you wish to. And you can switch back and forth between those hosting models at will. So that means you can change from a remote hosted solution to an on-premise solution in about a day. And Cherwell will then change the system over and make it so that it works from your own home servers if that's the way your business has changed. So using the product means you don't just have a locally hosted application. This can be done as a SaaS solution, and you still have access to all those MApps. So that means all that functionality still exists to create this as a platform as a service, in addition to being used as software as a service. So in a nutshell, I just wanted to be able to sum up by saying thank you again for taking the time out of your days to attend our discussion about Cherwell as the future of ITSM. We at Flycast look forward to an opportunity to be able to speak with you about Cherwell or other solutions that you may be interested in. So don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have additional questions as a follow-up from this presentation or anything else that we can do to help assist you. With that, I'm going to turn this back over to the ever-capable Rich Longo and wish the rest of you folks a great afternoon.
Thank you so much, Greg. Another great presentation, and I hope everyone got something out of that. You have a lot of questions that folks had. I encourage you to go ahead and go to our chat and chat with us about it, or give us a call at 844-FLYCAST, or email us, and we'll be more than happy to get someone to talk to you about some of the questions that you may have. Obviously, on our website, we do have some white papers and other success stories that you can read to help you understand more what this tool can offer for you. So go ahead and take a gander on our website and see if it can help you out a little bit, and let us know if we can help you. Have a great day.